young man, didn't know my way, and Amos saw something in me that others didn't. If it wasn't for him, I would have never had a 20-year career. I probably would have made it 2 years. They would have kicked me out, or I would have been in the brig. But he saw something in me, and for that, he was my mentor. And there's times like this, we all ran to Amos. We went to Amos for consoling our souls and our minds. But he's gone now, and there's nothing we can do. CJ, you're absolutely right. You know, we're going to live for Amos. We're going to do the things that he did and continue to honor him. And I'm comforted by John 14 when Jesus told the disciples that if it weren't true that I come back for you, that my Father, God, has a room for you. And I'm going to come get you when that time comes. And I'm comforted by that because Amos is taken home. He has a room where my room's going to be right next to him. I'm already calling it. So you got to live down the hall. And I can't wait for that time to come. Today I was telling some friends, you know, I called my wife and my mom, and it was immediately met with crying, and I couldn't handle that. But they wish they could have been here. But that's how much Amos meant to my family. When he adopted me, we were family for life. And I learned that term from Amos. I put it on my cards and my postcards and my Christmas cards, "You're my friend for life." And Amos taught me that because he used to write me when I first left Norton Air Force Base to Portugal, where my daughter was born at the same time CJ was, around the same time frame. Even though we were separated by thousands of miles, Amos and I would pick up where we left off in our conversations. And I know you all had that conversation with Amos. You wouldn't talk to him for a year or a month or a week, but it was like you never had lost contact with him, because that was a friendship that we had. CJ, I don't have to tell you, how much we loved him and how much we're going to miss him. Today I've experienced a different flavor of pain. Today I didn't know this flavor existed because I loved Amos so much, your father. That meant that much to all of us. So thank you for letting me come up here and share a little bit about him. I think the stories I have will be reserved over a beer with some of the guys over here. But I've already shared some with you, CJ and Renee. Thank you for letting me talk for a second.
Hello, everyone. I don't usually speak a lot. I'm like Amos' adopted little brother. I met him in Saudi around 2016, 2017, and all of the guys, they was telling me, I was like, man, it's boring around here. Nobody get together on the weekends and cook anything. Say, oh, wait till Amos come back. So we're in a grocery store, and we see Amos. I never met him. We see him in a grocery store. We're on the dairy aisle, and it's about 100 meters away. And he goes, what up? I can't tell y'all what he said, but I think y'all know what he said. And we're in a grocery store, and I asked Tyrone, I said, who is this guy, man? He said, that's famous Amos. And we've been like this ever since. I'm going to miss him. When the guys called me, when Tom called me, I took one of the other brothers, Gio, to Bahrain to get a TV because he has glaucoma. So like I said, I'm the little brother of the family. So we came back. He went and got a 75-inch TV. The TV is still in the box. So Tom called me. He said, Calvin, Amos is cold. I said, why are you calling me? Call 911. He said, no. Amos told all of us, anything happen to you, call Cal. Cal knows what to do. It was heavy on my heart. So the entire time, as I'm driving, me and Gio driving to Amos's house, I'm in tears. And like I said, Gio has glaucoma. And he goes, you want me to drive? Like, you can't see, man. So we arrived, and one thing led to another, and I know CJ's number. So I think I called Miss Renee, because CJ, of course, was sleeping, as these youngsters do. And I asked her if she could wake CJ up because I have some bad news. And I never want to make that phone call for any of my family members. Miss Renee, CJ, brothers, sisters, you guys lost a titan. You didn't lose a brother, you didn't lose a dad, you didn't lose a husband, you lost a titan. That man touched so many people. I've never in my life, seen a man who everyone, hey, you hungry? Go to Amos' house, you're gonna eat. You want a drink? Go to Amos' house, you're gonna have a drink. If you got problems in your life, don't go to Amos' house. He never gonna offer good, at least so I thought. But what I didn't know is that secretly, my wife was Amos's confidant. I did not know all of these things. So she'll share a few words. Again, to the family, I love you. You guys are my sister-in-law, my niece, brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews. You're all in my heart. And this won't be the last time y'all see the McGuires here in Texas. We won't move, Kentucky. We're not saying we're moving here, but we'll come visit.
Is it morning? What time is it?
Afternoon.
Oh, afternoon. Hi, everybody. I just... like my husband said, I knew the side of Amos that many of them didn't know. He would come to me and talk to me about his family, CJ, Renee. We would sit and talk. He always used to find like a spot in that crazy madness because we always met and always had fun, but he would find a space where we'd just go and talk. I just thought Amos was just a jokester, like, all the time, until his mother passed. And when his mom passed and came back to Saudi, he was really shattered, like he was broken. But Amos always cracked jokes about everything, and the boys will also crack jokes about it. But then he would come and talk to me and told me everything about what was going on at home and how he feels lost, like how home is never going to be the same. And then at one time, I think he passed out at work because his blood pressure was high. So I was a nurse in Saudi back then. And when they I actually checked his blood pressure. This is after giving him medicine, and his BP was like 252 over 150 something. I was like, Amos, this is not normal. He took his meds, got discharged, and got to speak to him about it. And at that time, whatever he said, it was just, okay, just Amos talking. Until on May 11th, when my husband phoned me to say that, he said Amos passed out. I was like, call the ambulance. He said, no, passed out. I said, like, you mean like he's unconscious? Call the ambulance. Why are you calling me? I'm in America, you're in Saudi. He's like, love, you need to listen. I'm like, my husband's voice was like totally different at this. I never heard his voice like that. And then I was like, what happened? Then he said, Amos is gone. And I finished whatever I was doing, went to work, came back. 2 days later, and I asked my husband, like, how did you find Amos? He said he was sitting on his couch, looked like he was drinking coffee and having toast. And I said, you know what? When that time I was talking to him and getting to him about his blood pressure and stuff, and he obviously going to be joking about things, and he said to me, sis, You see me, when it's my time to check out, I'm going to be sitting right here on this couch, watching TV and drinking wine. And that when my husband told me, that gave me that picture, I was like, he checked out exactly the same way he envisioned it. The only difference is there was coffee and toast, but he was watching AFN because abroad sports. He was watching his sports. And I said to him, okay, then what if you're not in Saudi? He said, wherever I am, wherever I will be sitting on my couch watching TV and drinking wine. With that, it kind of like comforted me. And I was like, you know what? It was his time. And when my husband told me that he had all the notebooks with pin codes and everything on the coffee table, I was like, he probably knew that it was time, and he didn't want them. They didn't break into his safe. The code was there. And my husband knows Amos like this, and he's never seen this notebook, but he saw it for the first time on that day, and it had everything, like cell phone, pin code, everything you can think of. So Amos, till we meet again, brother. I mean, he's been to South Africa. He was there for our wedding. We had our first wedding, traditional wedding. He was there. He went to the most rural places in South Africa, and he belonged. He just fitted in, you know, and the people love him. And my dad is 80 years old, and he's heartbroken about the news. May your soul rest in peace till we meet again.
I'm a crier, so get used to it. I told myself not to get up here and do this. Everyone in Saudi Arabia gravitated towards Amos. He was that type of individual. If you didn't have it, he made sure you got it. Didn't matter whether it was food, booze, money, whatever. He was there for you. And I know a lot of people still owe him money, by the way. Not me. He was a special person that weekly would have our crew of American men, generally, and we'd have hump night. Our hump nights are not Wednesday like here. They're Tuesday over there. And everybody would bring a little something, some booze or something, and we'd sit there on a work night and do just what everybody does here on hump night, okay? But it had to be at Amos's, okay? 99% of the time, it was always at Amos's. And he'd wait on other people to volunteer, but we had so much fun at Amos's, you know, why would you? And everybody, if I had it at my house, I'd have half the people probably, maybe. One thing I found out about Amos after 20 years, I knew I liked him. I never knew I could love a man like I loved Amos. I won't get over it easy. I was waiting on this knock to come on my door in Florida. We talked about it. And for me to be here today is hurting. He's gave me the opportunity now to replan my life because some things ain't going to work out anymore for me. But you know what? I cherish all the minutes that he's gave me. And I know all the guys over there do that knew him. And I'm talking not a few years, I'm talking 20 years here, close knit. You guys are family. We were 7 days a week like this on top of each other. So it wasn't hard to love him. Okay, once you got to understand that crazy guy, couldn't help it. And you always knew the Amos-isms that was going to come out of his mouth. Oh, you knew it, okay? And I just wanted you to know that not only from me, but from the crew over there that can't be here, because people are still working, and distance and everything else, and money. But they would all like to have been here if they could have. And there's a few people that really tried hard and didn't make it, but that's the way it is. We'll all catch up with him. I'm next. I'm going to tell you a little joke. Calvin told me his wife made him go out and buy a suit for this. And I said, he said, you going to get a suit? And I said, Calvin, if I get a suit, next time you look at me, you're going to be looking down my box at me. I don't want to buy that suit. I ain't buying it. So here I am today like this, okay? But anyway, I can make a few jokes for him, but I tell you, Amos is he's a star. He's a star amongst the stars now. And he'll keep on flying jets because Jesus needs crew chiefs too. That's all I can do without crying. I'm sorry. He's deep in my heart.
I'm much younger than Amos, but I've told Nona and them this story. I wanted to tell you the story, but I scrounged around the newspaper sometime doing a little research, and I found something. But I know it's been a year or so ago, I sent you a picture. Amos played football on a professional team, and I found that. But anyway, Amos, I had been in my early 20s, and Amos came home. He had come out to the park, had his bag with all his stuff to play basketball with us. And Amos he told me this story. Like I said, he wants to be. I'm a young man. I hadn't seen him for a long time, but always, he smiles, as everybody said. Everybody knows him. So he tells me, I got my head down, changing my stuff. I happen to glance up, and I see you young guys, your arms and elbows over the rim. I just took my stuff off and sat back and watched you all play basketball. We retired him without him getting up. That's basically what we did. But as I read this and saw it, I wanted to read this because it looks like Amos lived his life. But I knew him as Penney. I never knew him as Amos. I knew him as Penney's out. He might be my favorite Penney, but I'm just joking. But anyway. But this article, I don't remember what date it was. It says, to Thailand, Sergeant Amos A. Penney Jr. has left for a 90-day tour of duty in Thailand. He spent 3 months transporting troops home from Vietnam for Christmas last year. This is his second tour of duty in Thailand. He just recently returned from Spain and England. He is entering his 4th year with the Army, for Army Forces. His address is somewhere in San Francisco. He lived his life. How many people can do that? But I always remember his smile on his face and just being great. Sorry.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Gary Wilson. To Renee, CJ, and the rest of the family, my condolences. I just want to share my experience that I've had with Amos, and got a couple of the guys here that were in Athens together, Athens, Greece, back in the day. Just fill in, there was a mention of Thailand and then Saudi. I just want to fill in the gaps a little bit if you guys don't mind. Back in 1982, July 27th, actually, left New York. On my way, I was in the Air Force, on my way to Athens, Greece. Didn't know where I was going. I wanted to stay stateside, but I figured I'd just go, right? So I get there, and the routine is when you get in country, go to the squadron. They say, hey, Wilson, go to the dorm, get some sleep, and then, get some chow, and then come back tomorrow. So I did that, got some sleep, got some chow, and then I went to the softball field. It looked familiar, Heard all kinds of noises outside the gate, but knew that softball field. I understand that. So I get there, And I get up into the stands. First thing I noticed was probably about 12 people in a circle. And there was one guy in the middle. And all of a sudden, they start laughing. I'm like, why are you guys laughing? I am homesick. I don't know where I am. I don't like this. So I sat there and watched the game. And then after the game, I go down the steps, right? Ready to leave. And this group of guys were a little intimidating. You know, I just kind of skirt around them and I start heading back to the dorm. And then all of a sudden I hear this, hey, you. And I go, somebody's talking to me. So I look around and he goes, the guy in the middle says, hey, do you play football? And I'm like, excuse me? And I'm like, what's that have to do with me being here in Athens? He goes, and I said, excuse me? And he goes, do you play football? Everyone started busting out laughing. I'm like, gee, thank you. My welcome to Athens. So I said, yeah, I do. And he goes, go back to your squadron, tell them you're going to be playing football with us. And I was like, okay. So I go back to the squadron and I say, some guy says I can play football here in Athens. They say, oh, yeah, you can do that. No problem. Just learn your job first, and then a couple weeks you can go over there. So I show up for practice, and of course Amos is right there, and he's introducing me to the entire team. We have a good time through the season. It was about 6 games, guys. Yeah, about 6 games, intramural, pretty good football. And then at the last game, we were sitting down just kind of talking, and somebody's handing out these papers, I said, these are orders. What is this? And it said, Madrid, Spain. And I look up at Amos, what is this? He goes, you made the base team. We're going to go travel. So we traveled around Europe as, a football team and everything. And Amos was on the airplane, on the bus, wherever, just kept everybody loose. He was our captain. He did everything, right? So I was there 18 months. Some guy said, where do you want to go next? I said, California. How about that? And I just kind of threw it out there. And he goes, okay, we'll get you to California. So I get to California, and I'm in my dorm, and the phone rings. He goes, hey, what are you doing? Like, Famous, you're here too? He goes, yeah, I'm here too. Let's go get a drink. So he takes me out to the Jet, if you guys are familiar. I know Danny is. So years later, CJ was born. My daughter was born. They had birthdays together. And all that time I was out there 10 years, and just the greatest guy. And we're going to miss him big time. So to everyone, I just wanted to share some stories with a great guy. So really love your fame. Thanks.
Okay, Amos, now, I go back further than most of these gentlemen over here. I was, except for the child there. Amos and I met, I had just turned tech sergeant, so my time was when he was on active duty. I don't remember the year. Artie would, because he came out there then. But anyway, I was a tech. Amos had just made tech, and they put us together. I was an aircraft inspector. What they call QC. Nobody liked us, and when I say nobody liked me, the Marines didn't like me. Okay, and we had to go up to Palm Springs. They were having their summer. I call it the summer jamboree. All the Marines would come into Palm Springs Airport and go out to the 29 Palms. Anybody's on duty knows the stump. Well, after we had finished doing our job, Amos said, "Let's go out and have a drink." You guys all know that story. So I said, okay. And now Amos drank more than I did. Okay, I drink my beer, but Amos drank more than I did. So we were in a blue Air Force vehicle. First, you have to understand that we're supposed to be on duty, and we go into Palm Springs on the main drag. Renee remembers all, and Amos said, "Let's go in that club, man. That seems to be a hot club." And it was upstairs, and I said, "Well, Amos, we're still in our blues. We can't go in there." He said, "Oh, they'll let us in." He went up to the door, and a lot of the older people who remember that movie, The Last Detail, Amos went up there, and this is so you understand the kind of man that we're talking about. He went up there and told them people, we were Air Force MPs looking for somebody, and we had gotten notice that the man had gone in this club, and he didn't want to pay the entry. I think it was like, back then it was $10 or something to get in, and we didn't want to pay that. So he lied to this guy, and I'm standing there, and I said, yeah. And they let us in the club. And so I'm sitting up there at the bar drinking my beer, and we're just in there. So, like how Amos socialized. And the doorman came around and he said, "Have you found him yet?" And I don't know exactly what Amos said because I didn't want to be a witness. But the guy said, "As soon as you get him, you let me know. I'll help you take him out." So we messed around in there for about an hour and a half, and Amos found some guy that was an Air Force guy, and he told the guy, "Man, you got to pay along so we can get out the door." Now he was telling this lie in reverse so that we could get out the door, the doorman wouldn't get on us. So anyway, I just wanted you guys to know that is the kind of personality, the kind of man he was. I didn't know him as long as some, because you guys knew him for 20. I had him a straight, 5 years maybe? But my God, he was with me every day. I couldn't get rid of him. That's why I know, like I tell, see, she doesn't know. I remember when CJ was down there somewhere, and we were having a party at Amos's house. You remember when we dug the hole in the yard thing? And Amos had put CJ inside for her own protection. He didn't want to follow her in the hole. We were digging a hole for a pig. You know that when you do that stuff. And what does CJ do? I'm going to tell on you, CJ. CJ got up there and she started banging her head against. I said, "Amos, you need to let her out." And Amos looked, and CJ was just banging her head against the door. He said, "She wants to be with you, Amos." Oh, I said, "You might as well get I had already had two sons by then. And I said, "Amos, this is something you got to get used to. Your baby girl wants to be with you." And what does mama do? She opened the door and let her out. But anyway, Amos, I just want to say from the time I was with him and the things that I learned from him, let me say this to all you gentlemen. He was an excellent teacher. Okay, and I'm not saying now what I did, I worked for a colonel and all that mess and as an inspector. I'm one of the few people that started off as an E5 and ended up retiring in my job. And that was like 4 or 5 years as a quality inspector. So you know why they wanted to keep me, because I didn't care. But Amos he learned a lot from me, and I learned a lot from him. Okay, and I just wanted to say that. Okay, thank you.